Let me take you back to the year 2011. I, age 10, am at a friend's house, and we decide to spend some time on his parents' computer playing a new game that he has been shown recently. It's called Minecraft, and although I thought the blocky graphics were a bit strange at first, I was quickly fascinated by how limitless the game was. I had never seen anything like it. But my friend's parents were a little bit strict around technology, so after only around half an hour of playing, we were asked to stop. But me and my friend were hooked. So if we couldn't play Minecraft, we would do the next best thing. We would search up the word Minecraft on YouTube. And I think that many of you watching already know what the first result was.
Hooray! Minecraft! We've created a new server and we're going to show people how to play Minecraft, how to survive the first night.
We saw a slightly strange thumbnail depicting... To this day, I don't actually know what this is. If it came out today, I would say it was bad AI generation, but the video was titled Minecraft Part 1, How to Survive the First Night. And it was created by a channel named Blue Zephos, which would eventually be renamed to the Yogscast. And even though I didn't realize it at the time, this video and the series that followed it would shape a huge part of my life that would follow. Of course, I was not the only person who was having this kind of experience with this video. To this day, nearly 15 years after the video was uploaded, the comment section is littered with people detailing their feelings towards this video. They give it as a formative part of their childhood, highlighting the amount of nostalgia they get from it. Some even calling it the greatest YouTube series of all time. Oh, and many of these comments are from this year. It had such a profound impact on so many of us that we are still going back and watching a video that, at its core, is someone showing his friend Minecraft for the first time. So, why do we all come back to it? Sure, Lewis and Simon are funny to watch, but there's no shortage of funny guys on YouTube. There even wasn't at the time. There are a lot of Minecraft series which started around this time, and while a lot of them do have a substantial fan base, it's rare for them to capture the immense nostalgia that the Yogscast Survival Series and the series that followed it would. The answer to this question is the entire point of this rather long video, and is therefore not an easy thing to answer. But what I will begin with is this. When I go back to this video, sure, it's entertaining by its own merit, but it's also an important moment captured in time. It represents the moment that we all, as young people, or just gamers around the time, found a game that was unlike any other, and our minds were captured with an endless possibility. This is how the Yogscast created the first SMP. This is episode 1 in a new series I am starting on this channel where I detail the history of my favorite aspect of Minecraft, that being creator-led survival multiplayer series. This first episode will detail what I believe to be the most significant example of such in very early Minecraft history, and detail how it would define the future of SMP content creation. The Yogscast, although known for Minecraft now, were actually around for a few years before their Minecraft series. They were, at first, known for podcasts and videos on World of Warcraft. As a matter of fact, the name Yogscast actually comes from the acronym of their WoW guild, that being Ye Old Goon Squad. I think the thing I want to highlight here is that, from the very beginning, the Yogscast were at their core a group of friends getting together and making videos, which is something that, as we'll see later on in this video, was one of the greatest assets that the Yogscast had as content creators. The Yogscast, particularly as they grew, included a lot of members, but for this video series, only 2 actually appear in speaking roles. That being Lewis, known as Zephos, and Simon, known in-game as Honeydew. There are other people mentioned, and later on we do see characters on the server who are being played by said other people, but in terms of members of the Yogscast that we actually get to know through the series, it's just Lewis and Simon. But don't worry, I'll detail the others in future installments of my SMP series. And so, on the 3rd of December 2010, the Yogscast would upload their first episode of their survival series, without knowing it, they had just uploaded what is likely the most defining video in their career. And to be entirely honest with you, it is a very generic first episode of a Let's Play series. Episode 1 essentially just consists of Lewis and Simon chatting and the two learning a bit about the game before the sun sets. There are no cuts in this video. It's literally just uncut footage of two friends playing Minecraft. Now, I'm not saying this to talk down the video. Lewis and Simon are entertaining guys, so even if just hearing them chat for 10 minutes is a simple video by today's standards, it's still an entertaining one. And it's also important to highlight that the only reason this is a generic Let's Play video by today's standards is because videos like this defined the entire genre back then. And so Lewis and Simon run around for a bit, get absolutely terrified by a creeper, realize they've just been standing around talking all day and it's going to get dark soon, then panic and quickly try to learn the game. Lewis then asks the age-old question of,
why is this tree not falling down?
Kill us.
And then uses said tree as a makeshift roof for a shack before the episode ends. Episode 2 is just them hiding in said shack and getting horror game levels of afraid of the mob spawning outside, which occasionally they encounter when they are brave enough to venture out. The following few episodes consist of the two finding what they dubbed to be the Yog Cave, a naturally generating cave which the two renovates into what will be their base for the rest of the series. And also just the two learning the game, via trying to find food to fix their heavily depleted life bars, and glass for windows in the Yog Cave. The only thing that I'll mention specifically about these early installments of the series is that the typical dynamic that you might expect from Lewis and Simon from the later content is kind of flipped on its head. If you watch any video from the heyday of their Minecraft video making days back in their early 2010s, you'll see that Lewis is the reasonable one who keeps the video moving forward as intended, whereas Simon is the funny one. Not to say that Lewis can't also be funny, but videos often took the form of Lewis explaining something and then Simon making jokes about whatever Lewis was explaining. However, here the opposite is true. Simon had played a bit of Minecraft before the series had began, whereas Lewis had played none. So, Simon was explaining the game to Lewis. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, it just shows that the dynamic between the two which would become default later on in their careers had not quite formed yet. Here we see an early version of what would become successful later on. So far, this series has been a standard SMP Let's Play series of two friends learning the game. However, if you know the series, you know it doesn't stay like that for long. Eventually, the series transitions to what is essentially a fantasy roleplay series, the obvious beginning of which is part 6, which is called The Mysterious Tree, where the two supposedly logged on and are shocked to find a clearly tampered with tree outside of the Yog Cave. They swear they didn't do it, and are confused by how someone could have possibly gotten onto the server, especially because the server is running onto Hamachi, shout out to Hamachi, and can't be easily logged on to. However, I noticed something this most recent watch through of the series that I haven't before. Because this plotline doesn't actually begin in episode 6, it begins the episode prior. And I noticed this because of something Lewis says at the beginning of episode 6. He makes sure to mention that his inventory is exactly the same as it was at the end of the previous episode. This is strange for two reasons. Number 1, why even mention that? No one was accusing you of that. And number 2, actually, no. His inventory is not the same as it was at the end of episode 5. Specifically, he has an iron pickaxe. The two have not found iron yet, or at least we haven't seen them do so. So this makes no sense. And Lewis is actually drawing attention to it. But this gets more insane, because as a sanity check, I actually went back to episode 5 to make sure I hadn't just missed something. And I found this clip at the very end of the episode.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, there's lots to do, isn't there? Lots to do. Shall we have a break, and I'll get some food, and you can have a break, and you can get some food.
That's a good idea.
If we come back, do you reckon we should bring some friends? That might be fun.
I think that's quite a good idea.
Okay. Let's bring Launa for a start.
Did you notice it? I'll zoom in on what's important.
Yeah.
Right.
At the very end of the episode, Lewis turns around. However, this turn is actually there to mask a cut, before which he has a stone pickaxe and after which he has an iron one. And would you believe, after this cut he suggests inviting his friends onto the server to join them. Of course, after this they maintain the facade of not having done so, but it is at the very least a wink to the audience, and shows that this RP planning was occurring at least before part 5 was uploaded. Anyway, continuing on with part 6, throughout the episode they find various other strange things. Most notably, a giant pyramid by alpha standards, filled with lava with a parkour through it. On the other side of said parkour was a bunch of chests, which of course Lewis and Simon felt compelled to check out. Parts 7, 8 and 9 consist of the two trying to complete the aforementioned parkour, failing to do so and then dying over and over again. They then try to make a bucket to get water to help them get over the lava, and once they successfully do so, they are rewarded with absolutely atrocious loot.
Oh my god, there's such treasure. You're not gonna believe it. Oh my goodness.
Really?
Such a bounty.
Tell me more.
Do you want me to just tell you?
Yes.
Okay. In the left chest, we have 17 torches.
17 torches? Wow.
Regardless, the two were a bit on edge from all of this, or were at least pretending to be. Someone was on their server that wasn't meant to be, and they didn't know what they would do next. The following episode, they lit their house on fire. Now, they didn't know that you could just extinguish fires by clicking on them, so they tried to use water to put the fire out. But because the fire had already made holes in the floor, the water just went into said holes. And then just as they put them out, their door exploded. Someone had rigged a TNT trap.
Oh my god! No! Why?
Oh, for goodness sake! What the hell happened here?
It was a trap! It was a baby trap!
Apparently undeterred by all of this, they then spent episodes 11 to 15 mining underground. They eventually find their first diamonds, then Simon makes a point of saying they should collect obsidian, though he does not tell Lewis the reason for this or what obsidian's purpose in the game is. Now this is a genuinely cool idea. Seeing Lewis's first reaction to a nether portal and then the nether itself, an entirely different dimension which he didn't even know was in the game, could be a really fun thing to watch. And so of course the next episode is dedicated to building said nether portal. They build a rather dramatic entrance to the portal, at least by alpha standards, and then Lewis lights it on fire. The nether portal back in these early versions was genuinely a sight to behold, because it was really unlike anything else in the game. Its noises and particles felt intentionally otherworldly, something which would not be replicated in the game until future updates. Now, I'm sure we were all very excited to see Lewis and Simon venture forth into the nether. But, unknown to Simon, the nether at that point in Minecraft history only worked in single player worlds. So the two kind of just stand in the portal for a while, bracing for something crazy to appear on their screen, before realizing that nothing is going to happen. Okay, now the series starts to get really crazy, at least by 2010 standards. In part 17, Lewis and Simon decide to expand the old cave by building a castle tower in the gap in the roof on one side of the cave. They start to plan it, but as they do, they see a nameplate appear on their screen. Israphel. The two begin to panic, having no idea who this person is, and then he begins to shoot them. The mysterious individual begins to circle their base before running into the darkness. Lewis and Simon follow in part 18, but quickly lose interest and instead just decide to dig a tunnel for an entire episode. That's what part 19 is. Digging a tunnel. In part 20 they continue building their tower, and in part 21 they load in, announce they are now using the newly released beta version of Minecraft, and then notice that their door has been raised a single block for some reason. There is an ominous sign posted next to it. You should close the door. They then continue building before an arrow glitches all over their screen, indicating that Israphel had returned. They panic once again, particularly when they realize that Israphel is actually inside their house. This time when they chase him away, they eventually find a path and then, by early beta standards, a massive bridge. They follow said path until they encounter a second mysterious person on their server, their name being Old Peculiar. This is the point within the series where the roleplay escalates from pretending to be scared that someone random is accessing the server to essentially an entire fantasy story taking place on the server. And then Lewis and Simon just kind of go along with it. Because not only is Old Peculiar here, but also a whole town of people with interconnected lore. And so the two enter the town of Terravale, where Old Peculiar owns an inn. Also living in said town is Daisy Duke, a blacksmith who Old Peculiar has feelings for. This, however, does not stop Simon from hitting on her. After helping out Daisy with her spider-infested basement at the end of part 22, in part 23, the two meet Reverend John, the owner of Terravale Chapel, St. Creepers. He mentions that his son had passed away, and that his name was, wait for it, Israphel. The two are then asked to recover Israphel's belongings from his old house, which, I mean, I don't know why they expected would go very well at all. They basically find nothing before being run out of the house by zombies. They go back to the inn, where as soon as they mention the word Israphel, they are mysteriously disconnected from the server. The funniest part about this is that it looks like something they would totally fake in the story to escalate suspense or something, but actually no, this was just a coincidence. In part 24, the two go back to Israphel's house, but even though they slay all the zombies in its underneath, they still find absolutely nothing. When they go report this to Reverend John, they find him underneath his church, standing in front of a tomb. After a brief conversation, he tries to kill them. He doesn't get very far and is killed in one hit by Lewis. Old Peculiar then comes down to see what all the fuss is about. He explains that the tomb which John was standing in front of was, wait for it, Israphel's tomb. He was apparently obsessed with standing in front of it day after day. Old Peculiar then reveals that Israphel died 5 years prior, despite the two having seen him earlier that day. And also, despite the server only existing for like a month at most. And also, despite Minecraft not existing 5 years prior. By the way, this entire time, Lewis and Simon are just passing this entire thing off as a weird thing that is happening in beta now. NPCs are just here and do this now, I guess. Anyway, Simon then burns the grave before part 25. The two and Old Peculiar venture down into a secret tunnel which has appeared under his grave. They then find some redstone, pretend it's blood, and then get absolutely terrified and run back to the surface, because obviously whatever caused said redstone is going to need a huge amount of preparation for. In part 26, the three realize that Daisy is missing. They go back into the crypt and follow a path, eventually finding an underground castle where Israphel is holding Daisy hostage. They run into the castle after her, but are stopped by Zombie Boss? You know how old this series is because they actually managed to create an account with this name. Anyway, they kill Zombie Boss and advance further into the castle. And here we reach the final part of this particular series, part 27. It begins with them encountering Creeper Boss, who, would you believe, sets off a bunch of TNT, though it basically does nothing to our protagonist characters. They are unable to find Daisy and Israphel in the castle and eventually find a dark tunnel leading out of it. They go down it for a really long time before emerging directly next to the nether portal that they had created not too long before. Old Peculiar says that Israphel must have taken Daisy through it. They say they will go through the portal, and then the series ends. For now. Because would you believe this is only the beginning of our much, much crazier RP. And do not worry, I will make a video on it. But let us return to the thesis of this video. What did make this series special? Why does it hold the place it does in the hearts and minds of millions? Well, to answer that question, I once again need to take us all back to what content creation was like in 2011. I'm sure many who have gotten into Minecraft more recently would have basically no idea how super early Minecraft YouTube was. Note that this was even before Skyder's Minecraft or DanTDM or Stampy Longhead. By the point those creators really made their way onto the scene, that content was actually the product of already a couple of years of creators trying to figure out how to engage audiences with Minecraft. In 2011 though, we had little to none of that. The idea of not only Minecraft content creation, but content creation as a whole was just starting to take form. And so by that point, people were kind of just doing whatever they wanted. There's a real homemade lo-fi quality to this era of YouTube. People were literally just turning on a video camera or recording software and then just talking while playing a game for a while, and then doing little to no editing before uploading it. In 2011 and 2012, when you looked up Minecraft on YouTube, you would find exactly that. A guy in his bedroom playing the game for 10 minutes while talking over it. And so, at this point, the creators which did the best were just the people that had the most natural charisma. And to Minecraft's very early audience at the time, two nerdy British guys who clearly got on very well and worked well together, but also weren't afraid to make jabs at each other, were exactly that. But this survival playthrough is not remembered alongside Antvenom's first playthrough of the game, for example. It's not just some guys playing a game, it's more than that. And of course the reason for that was the RP that began to show up and eventually defined the series as it progressed. When you are a viewer in 2011 and you start watching a Minecraft Let's Play, especially as an actual child, your expectations are rather narrow. You're happy with just Minecraft gameplay. That's why you're there. But when creators use the sandbox environment of Minecraft to tell a whole epic fantasy story, your mind becomes blown. This is something that I, certainly at the time, not only hadn't seen on YouTube before, but didn't even conceive could be possible. These guys got a bunch of their friends together and just made a fantasy story on their Minecraft server. And it captured my imagination like no other video had at the time. And to add upon all of this is something I've come to appreciate watching these back as an adult. The way that Lewis and Simon act on video is also perfect for this kind of style of content. I think an easy pitfall I could have fallen into is making the series too serious. This is, at the end of the day, a Minecraft roleplay. It does not actually matter at all, and if our main characters, the guys who claim that this is just a server they're running, took it too seriously, it would come off as disingenuous. And so they're constantly cracking jokes even in supposedly emotional moments. They're not taking the story entirely seriously. Simon even tries to steal some guy's girlfriend even though he's been nothing but kind to them. There's even also perhaps some unintentional meta-commentary here, which is generated by them and their team as a result of this story being intentionally a rather generic fantasy story. By making such a commonly told fantasy story and then not taking it seriously, they are kind of making fun of it. And I think all of this making fun, whether it be at themselves, at the things happening in the RP, or at the story being told as a whole, is kind of the crux of why this series works for me. Sure, it was cool that they used Minecraft as a medium to tell a story like this, particularly at the time, but the story actually being told here isn't particularly interesting or unique. And how could it be? Minecraft isn't exactly the optimal medium to tell a story like this, so that's not the reason why it works. The reason why this works is because of the very thing that makes Minecraft multiplayer so special in the first place. Because beyond the story that we are being shown, what we are fundamentally watching here is something far more simple. Minecraft, as one of the most versatile sandbox games in existence, is allowing Lewis, Simon, and their friends to do fun, cool stuff with each other in an environment nearly without limits. And so, as Lewis and Simon are just entertaining people in general, we get a series that is incredibly fun to watch. In other words, this isn't a genre-defining fantasy story by any means. But it doesn't have to be. We're not here watching it for that. We're here watching it to see Lewis and Simon have fun with their friends. And it was all that at a time where content creation in general was in its infancy. If you're watching this as a person who is perhaps a bit younger than those who were in the Yogscast primary audience at the time, then it might not entirely make sense why there is this allure around the series. RPs have been done since and have been way more ambitious. But my response is simply this. This was first. This RP, occurring so early in Minecraft's history, would define everything of its kind that would come after it. And we'll get into how that's the case in future installments of this series. And next time, we'll focus on the series that I assume many of you are asking about. This series, which is essentially just a continuation of this one, but on a much, much, much crazier scale. So, please give the channel a subscribe, and you will see a video, eventually, much like this one on Shadow of Israphel.